Hello, everyone on the Tarot for Creative Magic journey. Welcome to group call number 5. It's good to be with everybody. And I'm just going to take a few minutes at the beginning of this call to talk about, because we're getting to the end of the journey, which will end on December 9th. And there will be a new journey that's going to begin in 2024. And there's an opportunity for folks to continue if they want to, and y'all get like special pricing, you get some extra stuff. So this is going to go in an email, but I wanted to talk about it as well. And then if folks on the call had any questions, I can answer them. And then we'll get into our group session and talk about a journaling prompt and do some support. So I just want to kind of set a reminder that this was and is a little bit of an experiment. Like, I created this book, that was maybe the first book I made, I guess. So I created this book and I filled it with journaling prompts that I hoped would help everyone connect with themselves, discover parts of themselves that maybe want to come out into your life and have more influence and offer you more guidance and wisdom, and also to help you build a relationship with tarot or deepen a relationship with tarot, because I believe that relationship can serve us over a lifetime if we want to maintain it. So then I made the book, and then I thought, well, let's make some group support, and then, well, let's add some coaching sessions, and really wanted to help folks kind of move through this experience with some resources. So I've learned a lot thanks to everyone in this room and other folks who've been participating and sharing their experience and asking questions and pointing things out. And so I do think I am excited to do this again and to continue with some folks who want to continue and welcome some new folks. And so my plan for that is I'm currently in the process of like upgrading and revising and making the book even more beautiful, even more spacious. So you can use it like a workbook. It's going to be like 8.5 by 11, not too fat, but a little beefier. And so you're going to have more space on the pages, and some journaling prompts will probably span across a couple pages. They might be and with the questions maybe spread out, so you can take them like one at a time instead of trying to like wrap your mind around all of them at once and then break them apart yourself. Some might be kind of like charting things or drawing things. So I'm going to try to make some of them more creative. And I think a lot of them will actually be slightly different or quite different from the prompts in this book. So if you've done this book, but you decide to do the next book, you will have a fresh experience by and large. And there may be some prompts that feel familiar, but I suspect by the time you do them again, you'll have changed and your response will change. And it can be interesting to compare one response to another. I'm also working with an artist. So that's the beautiful part, the part where it gets more beautiful. So the cover will be a bit more interesting, and there will be some art elements throughout the book that you can like color or, just make it more fun, and also reinforce some of the themes of the prompts. So I'm excited about that. So the book I want to have out and ready, kind of starting to ship out in February. And the next round is going to start in early March. That's the plan. And then it will go for 12 months. And so there's going to be a group support call every month. And there's going to be 1 to 2 journaling sessions every week. So that's from the beginning. I added those at the end. They're going to be throughout. I did the math, and if you spend half the year doing 2 prompts a week and half the year doing 1 prompt a week, you can finish in a year. So I'm going to make 78 journaling sessions over the course of the year. And I know everyone can't attend all 78, but they will be there. Also, when the new program starts, you get a free 75-minute session with me, like whenever you want. You don't have to finish a certain number of prompts. You can do it whenever. And you can do 2 more one-on-one sessions if you want to, for a cost of $70 each, which is way reduced from my price. And I did that just because not everyone's using all 3 sessions. Some people may want them, some people may not. And there will be a new Slack community. We'll kind of start that over. And then you'll get to attend all typewriter tarot classes for the year for free. And you would get recordings as well. So there's going to be a storage space where you get the group support call recordings plus typewriter tarot class recordings. So that's what people are going to get when they join in March. And the cost for the new people is going to be $1,200. So like $100 a month for all that support. If you are already, sorry, there's a dog barking outside. I don't know if y'all can hear it. If you're already in the program, you can continue on for $600. So half the price of what new people are going to pay. Plus, you will get a group support call in January and February when there's like that gap between the two programs. Also, if you have any, hi, Monica, if you have, I'm talking about the next iteration of the group experience. That's what I'm in the middle of. So just so you are a little oriented. If you have remaining coaching sessions from this one that you haven't used yet, you can still use those plus the ones you're going to get in the new group experience too. Is there anything else? Yeah, so there will be payment plans for like the continuation and for the new students. So if you know anyone, that's going to be an option. If you're someone who's like, I feel like I really need this, but this price is impossible for me, then I'm willing to have not conversations to determine your need, but just to determine what's like an investment for you that you can make. So yeah, that's the situation. That's kind of how it's shaping up. Do y'all have any questions? I know that's a lot and it's all going to be in an email where you can read it again, but I just wanted to kind of explain it.
Are you going to limit the number of people? I think initially when you had this, like there was a certain target number or something, and then it was open.
Yeah. Right now, I suspect because of the pricing, it will not be a huge group of people. So I don't have a cap at the moment. And my intention is to kind of keep enrollment going for a while. So like the orientation video will be something you get when you sign up. And then because it's pretty much a self-paced journey, you can kind of enter at another point, and there will be people who have been doing it for a minute ahead of you or already there. And then there will be new people coming in who can benefit from things that you're experiencing on your journey. And so I'm at least going to do that for 6 months. And if it gets too big, I'm going to turn off enrollment for a while. But I suspect it would grow at a kind of slow pace. And there's not a minimum. I'm committed to kind of like starting where we start and trusting that there are people out there who can benefit from this, who will find it and come and join us. Does that make sense?
Then I have another, like on the Slack, I
Yeah.
noticed like at the beginning when we all signed up, there were introductions and things. And that sort of disappeared over time.
Yeah.
Is the idea to have that still like available for people to see when you first introduce yourself? Because I think that part seemed kind of weird when we had some newer folks, and then now like I don't remember who it was I was conversing with, and then so I just
Yeah.
don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah, that's a good question. My thinking about it is to, yes, have an introduction space. And so when new people arrive or join, then I will say like, hey, I'm excited to welcome these people. And I'm going to give people an option. So if they don't want to be in the Slack, then I won't send them that invitation. But if they do, then I'll kind of shout them out and invite them to introduce themselves, and hopefully they will. I feel like Slack is, and not the platform itself, but things like Slack, like Discord or whatever, are a bit of a mixed bag. And I do want to do a better job as like our facilitator and guide in kind of creating more engagement on a weekly basis and making it not like super serious always about the project and what we're doing in the tarot realm, though I want that to be part of it too, but also provide some prompts that just help people kind of get to know each other a little bit. But there are lots of people who are kind of in there and don't engage. And there are people who are more regularly active. And I don't know, I see this in other spaces that I do not lead, but am part of, where it's also kind of a mixed bag. And I don't, I can't make people participate, but I will do what I can to like say, hey, there's some new people coming in. Here's who they are. Hopefully they'll introduce themselves and kind of like get oriented, and we'll see them hopefully in calls. But yeah, this experience, and part of what's been the experiment is like, is it too loose because everyone can go on their own path and come to calls or not? Does it have enough structure? And I'm hoping to kind of walk a line where everyone gets to let their intuition and the universe kind of guide them through this with support. But we also have some kind of consistent, reliable places to interact with each other and get support and share what's going on. And if y'all have thoughts on what would work better, or what you do and don't like, I welcome that, or what you do want to see or don't want to see.
I don't particularly have any thoughts on what would work better or not work better, but just I have never used these platforms before. I've used them in your stuff. And so it's not like natural for me to be thinking about it. I don't really know how it all works. So I still don't have it figured out. Like, it doesn't tell me if I have, like, I found conversations that you had like tagged me in stuff. I had no idea. I hadn't gotten any alerts. So I probably don't have it set up right.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why don't really use it as much, is because I don't think about it, don't really know how to utilize it as well.
That's good feedback. And it makes me want to create a little video, because you're not the only one, and there's lots of people who never use this stuff for work or anything else. So maybe part of the orientation video or a separate video will be how you can use Slack, and I remember when I started using it, I was like, this is gross, I don't like it. But as you get a little more accustomed to it, I was like, okay, I get it. There's Facebook groups would also be an option. And if y'all have, I don't like really putting all my stuff on the Facebook. Slack feels more private to me. So but those are personal feelings I have about Facebook. Some of which are probably based in fact, and some are probably based in feelings.
Facebook, because it's free, right? Because at some point Slack, you're going to start to lose your messages after 90 days on the free version.
Yeah, and I probably will get a professional version for us. Sorry, go ahead.
And a lot of groups that I know either use Circle or they use Mighty Networks for the privacy, but it is a bit more expensive. But now you can put all the courses in there. You can put all the past discussions in certain categories. But yeah, Circle or Mighty Networks is another one.
I'll look into those too.
But it's also adding another app, just like Slack. So
right.
But Slack is a conversation app.
Yeah.
Just like Telegram. I don't know if y'all know Telegram. That better? No? Okay, never mind.
Monica's our tech goddess.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Chrissy, but like Discord is another one that I've used. That seems like to have a higher learning curve for using it, and but I'm using it for a bunch of other things that has nothing to do with like writing or journaling or any of that kind of stuff. It's more like a gaming kind of something or another. So, but I have used that as well. But yeah, I think the learning curve for some of these things might be it might be useful to have a video at the beginning.
Yeah, I like that. Any other questions? Okay. And if you have questions later, you know where to reach me. I welcome them. Feedback also is welcome. Okay, let's start our group call. And why don't we start just with some arriving and some settling in our space and cleansing our brains of the information that I gave you. Maybe just put your feet on the floor or in a way that feels comfortable for you. Either create a posture that feels strong and tall, or nice and supported, or both. Find some comfort and some ease in your body. Let your breaths get a little longer, just a little bit slower. Just take a moment to notice what's happening in your body, where you feel sensation, where you feel openness or ease. Not judging anything that's there as good or bad, but just the work of your body, always supporting you, moving you through life. Send a little breath wherever you feel it might be welcome or needed. You need to create more space, create more ease. Letting the weight of today, the work of today, the experiences of today, just kind of flow out of the body through your exhales. You're not lost to you, but just creating a little bit of space between the day and the present, between whatever you may be carrying. And some open space for the moments we'll create together. You can inhale, giving gratitude to your body for all the invisible and visible work that it's doing on your behalf. Exhale, love. Inhale some gratitude for your whole being, every part of you. Exhaling peace. And then inhaling some gratitude for the others in this space and the time we get to spend together, focusing on our own questions, considerations, emotions, breathing out love once again. You feel a little more settled. Maybe squeeze parts of your body with your fingertips gently. Maybe wiggle your toes. Maybe start to roll your shoulders. Move your neck a little bit if it feels good. Stretching a little, twisting. Looking for your bed. Okay. As you're ready, we'll come together. Welcome you again. And why don't we start with a card pull just to kind of see where we're at in the moment. I'm going to share mine, I think, as for myself and also for the whole of us. This is 9 of Pentacles. And one of my favorite cards. And this feels really nice for our, second to last call of this initial part of the journey. For those who've been engaging in these conversations with yourself, because that's really what you've been doing through these journaling prompts. I suspect that, and you can tell me, yeah, we have a beautiful peacock with our figure out in the garden. The pentacles in this deck are usually gems of some kind. So at this point in the journey, even, I know we've all done a different number of journaling prompts, but you've been engaging with this process on some level or another for months now. So 5 months now. And so I suspect or want to acknowledge that I think probably a lot of you, as you go through these prompts and have these conversations with yourself, you're uncovering desires, challenges, fears, doubts, old beliefs, things that, aren't working for you anymore that you want to let go of. And all of this is like deeper individuation. It's deeper understanding of who you are. This card I think of as the Beyonce card, because I just imagine this figure like out in her garden any day of the week, Tuesday at 11:05 a.m., hanging out with her peacock, doing whatever the F she wants to be doing, which is what Beyonce can do. And Beyonce gets to do that for a lot of reasons, but part of that is like a series of decisions she made over time to create a life where she has that kind of freedom that she gets to exercise for herself. And in this world, in the inside capitalism and other systems of oppression, it is not easy to achieve like full Beyonce life, right? But I think as we get more in touch with ourselves, we know more how to move in that direction for us. And so this feels like a really nice, I want to kind of broadcast this card in that sense and just invite you to acknowledge maybe how you've uncovered things about yourself and taken some action or done some difficult or challenging things around what you discovered. And that just noticing how those things are really hard to do and how they also serve and support you, not just like the other people that you support, but you specifically. Monica says she's got Beyonce's life on a simpler level. Yeah. As long as you have your own Beyonce life, then mwah. Yeah. Anyone have cards they want to show or share? Any Knight of Pentacles feelings are also welcome. Let's see, Monica, that one is 2 of Pentacles. Very nice. A little bit of a balancing act with that card. Do we want to move on? Okay. So I wanted to talk about the journaling prompt for death, the death card, for a few minutes. And we'll kind of open things up. And this came up in a journaling session, so I wanted to kind of attend to it with a little more space. And also, we're in Scorpio season, and Scorpio is connected to the death card, which I've belabored in my emails. Someone just pulled 10 of Pentacles. Very nice. Right after the 9. So yeah, in the death, so it's Scorpio season. Scorpio is connected to the death card. Y'all may be feeling or experiencing death related archetypal types of experiences, dreams, things like that in this season. Those can take all kinds of different forms and shapes. But this journaling prompt says, write a eulogy for a version of you who had to die in order for the current version of you to exist today. Write this eulogy with love, humor, inside jokes, warmth, and appreciation. Acknowledge that this death made your current life possible. And actually, that feels like a 9 of Pentacles kind of related work. Like, I think to get to 9 of Pentacles, to move further and further towards 9 of Pentacles, we go through this process of letting go of old versions of ourselves so that other new parts, or like latent or disenfranchised parts of the self, also get to come out and have agency. And so I don't believe that like our old self is forever dead and like has no existence in your current life. I think we're kind of like all versions of who we've been are, you know, in our body, in our soul, in our spirit. But we do make conscious choices to like let go of how we've been. You know, if as you get older, we look back at different chapters of our lives and it's kind of like, was that still me? Was that really like me doing that? And you look at that chapter next to this chapter and it's like, wow, how did I get here? And like there were experiences and situations, but there were also choices that you made, even when you felt like you didn't have a lot of choice. So, you know, I think eulogies are hard because they remind us of death, and death is hard because we don't know, for a lot of reasons, not only for the grief we experience when others we love pass on, but also because we don't know what's after this life, and that's very scary. And so this did feel like kind of a bold, risky, touchy, vulnerable prompt. And I think it also asks us to say nice things about ourselves. It's not explicitly in the prompt that you have to say nice things about yourself, but it's not going to feel good to write a eulogy where you know, do it with love is what it says. And so, you know, all the other versions that we have been are how we got here. And if we have some level of gratitude and appreciation for where we are now, that extends back to the people we've been in the past. So there may be some discomfort around really like giving love to the self. That can sometimes be uncomfortable if we're not in a habit of really cultivating that, which may be a reason why this prompt could be important for you to kind of wade into the space of self-acknowledgement and self-love. It may be hard to kind of grieve or confront a part of yourself that you have tried to really move on from. But I just want to note that you can choose any point in time from your life when you're working in this prompt. Like it could be a recent version of you or a much older version of you. And there's also a way to take this prompt to kind of write a eulogy for the person that that you want to feel like you get to become by the end of this lifetime. So I know that's like a very grand vision, but it also helps us imagine, you know, as we're moving on from this plane, what do we want? What do we hope to leave behind? What kind of memories, what kinds of impressions, or what kind of gratitude can we give to ourselves for how we used this life experience that we get? So yeah, this prompt, I was like, as writing it, I kind of thought like, everyone might hate this. Everyone may feel really squeamish about this prompt. This may be really uncomfortable. I included it nevertheless, just because, you know, the death card is part of our tarot journey, and because death is part of our life journey as well. And I think eulogies are maybe one of the most beautiful, I think it's one of the beautiful things that we express when we let go of someone or we have to experience a kind of loss. And it's a space where we get to acknowledge, honor, love, lift up, and kind of, you know, focus on the biggest, the things, the most residual things that get left behind. There's a comment that it was just such a big prompt, a lot of work and stuff to dig through. Yeah, a lot of work. I think it is a lot of work. And there are prompts in this journey that are easier than others. And I know some people have like taken several days or even a week or so to kind of work with a prompt. And I think that's completely appropriate. And I want everyone to move at a pace that feels good and right, and ruminate when you want to ruminate. I don't think, you know, all of these are meant to be done in the same amount of time. And the other thing I'd like to say about them is that, you know, when resistance comes up around prompts and you do want to back away, or you just, you know, I don't have capacity for this one right now, I think it's also beautiful to skip them and come back to them later. So I don't offer this as like, here's the important way to understand this prompt and everyone should be able to do it whenever you come across it. Like, I don't believe that. I did want to shine a little more light on it, just to maybe offer other ways to get into it. You could also, for example, give your past self kind of like a cute name, like a, you know, a part of self, and sort of separate from her a little bit and kind of like, you know, always have fun with it if that feels available to you or makes it more available to you. So I just wanted to share or comment on that, and also welcome any, if anyone's done this prompt and found it useful, terrible, feel free to share your experience.
I did it. I liked it. I did not have an aversion to it though.
Okay.
So I think at the time that, so when did I journal about this? That was the fourth card I journaled about. So it was earlier on, and it wasn't, I don't think I was overthinking it. I think now, that I'm, you know, further in on all of the journaling prompts, I would say I'm going in like sort of with a mindset of like maybe overthinking things a little bit. So at the time, this one I did not feel an aversion to, and I actually just Googled, oh, how do you write a eulogy? And
I remember
then
that.
kind of just went from there, and it wasn't, yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, I wasn't squeamish about it. I did like it.
Do you remember what it did for you to write it, or like what that process?
Yeah. Well, this one to me, it was actually just one page. It wasn't even something that was like super long to get through. I just really started it, and when it got to the end, to me it felt like it was putting words to something that I had already experienced and is now moving on into a transitional space, like this, like tarot for creative magic, right? Like this is a marking a point where, oh, there's a death of my old self, and then there's now this person that is looking inwards and discovering things and stuff like that, like purposefully. And that did come out of the eulogy. So it previously I was feeling it, but I didn't actually put words to it. So to me, that was my experience. Yeah.
I like that. That kind of demystifies it a little bit. Like,
I can read it. It's not that long. If you guys want to hear what I wrote. It's not, I don't think it's like a super like well-written eulogy or anything like that, but at the same time it does get to the point about what it is that if you guys want to listen to it. It says, for those of you who may not know, but I'm the current Violetta, and we're here today to say goodbye to the old Violetta. Old Violetta wasn't actually that old. She passed away at the age of 41 and lived a full life to the extent of her capabilities at the time. You see, old Violetta was told me once that she lived a YOLO life. You only live once. She really hated acronyms, but she did see herself sort of aligned with that. I mean, she did jump off a cliff into a river in Belize and told her husband to take a photo of the jump because she's likely not going to do that again. She also decided to go to a scuba diving party based on one conversation she had with a guy on an elevator who invited her. At the end of the scuba party, even though she didn't really swim, she just sat down at the bottom of the pool, breathing in and out, and sounded like Darth Vader. She made it to the car before she started to cry and break down because she was so full of fear. But you only live once. You might as well do it, right? Old Violetta was fearless, but she would act based on a single interaction, a single conversation, like one that made her pick her career because her physics teacher from high school told her that, oh, what are you going to major in? And she responded, what do you think I should major in? And he said, engineering, because you're good at math and physics. So she did. And this path led her to college, and it led her to her cats, her husband, grad school, Baltimore, where she now calls home, or she used to call home. This path was a respectable path, but it wasn't truly hers. That physics teacher was a white male. And so was the guy that she followed off to scuba. So was the guy that all of those grad school advisors judging her, and all of the other people, like her 3 supervisors in her full-time engineering and so on. These white males shaped the world she lived in so much that she thought she was actually shaping it herself. Today, I stand here with you today to say goodbye to the old Violetta. Thank her for a wonderful and full life, but I'm here now to steer the way forward, to be intentional in my choices and follow my own voice, which doesn't need to be run by any other old male. Yay.
Yay.
Thanks. Yeah, it's not too bad. I think I kind of like tried to put the love that I have for my life, for my old self, but at the same time, it got to the point really quick where I was like, oh, yeah, I am breaking some of this foundational stuff and going back and looking at how I got here and those kinds of things. And I think like one of the things I've been struggling a lot with is like the multiplicity and both engineering, art, that kind of thing. So, not like some of the other cards are like about not realizing that I had other choices outside of engineering. So yeah, it kind of got straight to what I needed to hear and move on, right? So
Thank you for sharing that, Violetta. Ivona, I see you about to say something.
Yeah, I was like, I did it too. And I guess part of me is like surprised that I didn't find it that intimidating. I honestly, I think some of the lineage prompts and legacy feel almost tougher to me. It was just a page, and it did kind of put me in touch with something that felt like a different language, than I usually kind of relate to myself with. So like my language was the Ivona of yesteryear and like the Ivona that lives on. And so it didn't take the whole like, okay, she's dead so seriously, but this idea of like a past self and the one who's writing this. And there was powers like in, I guess, the third person. I would say that I think was the twist that I took up, and it felt like it gave some distance that was interesting, and maybe at times even kind of like kinder and funner to even like be with. And then I guess what else came to mind is that people who write eulogies for somebody else, it's not an easy job. That much I know, right? And they
Yeah.
often write multiple versions to decide on one, right? So I guess I just wanted to offer that too, right? Like, I guess to myself or to other people who might be having this, if for some reason I didn't feel like I could enter it, I think it might be an interesting exercise to even write drafts for this one, and then like see what comes, which I know, because I realize I mostly kind of like go with what's on the paper and don't necessarily think of it as like multiple drafts and holding space even in the notebook for all of that. But I guess that's a reminder to myself that whatever I'm writing doesn't have to be the final word, even in this notebook. Yeah.
Yeah. The word declaration is coming up for me. It's kind of like, Violetta, when you shared that one, it seemed like a declaration for you of like delineating past from the present and the future going forward. And so, yeah, in the moment, and that's how I hope the prompts are for folks. Like you get into it and you're like, oh, something's happening, or like I'm seeing something and I'm going to seize on that and like follow that a little bit. Yeah, so I like how you kind of made it a declaration for yourself, and that can just be like whatever in the moment on that day you like want to declare. It doesn't have to be like as big as death feels, like kind of to what you were saying, Ivona. Awesome.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. And having done the eulogy at my mom's funeral, the idea of a eulogy doesn't scare me anymore because that one was really tough.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, right now it's just I'm 29 work days away from ending my career. So it's very much letting go of that self.
Yeah, that could be a really good one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it helps if I don't think of it as the eulogy, but a eulogy, right? Like as in, we all like. I came across this quote once that I thought was really lovely, which is, "I honor my living and dying selves." And so that idea, like that, there are so many dying selves. Anyways, so you could write a eulogy to any one of them.
I like that.
Yeah.
That could be a fun prompt for you shortly after your last day, Diane. Cool.
Or, in the meantime, when I no longer care about the work that I'm doing, so I've got lots of extra time.
You could do it at work.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. Thank y'all for sharing those insights. This is Queenie. I hope she's not too distracting. Who's wanting a little bit of support today? If you're feeling, take a moment to kind of check inside you, see if you have an urge, a calling, a tug to share something or get a little support.
I just want to say how much I love the new moon spread.
Oh, good.
You sent out in the email.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because the going forward cards, the first one was Temperance, and the one that really, because it was the Emperor, Three of Wands, on the letting go and the energy, and then temperance. And the one that really hit me was I forget what the question was for the second card to the right, but it was something about how you're going to prepare for this. And
Mhm.
Nine of Swords came up.
Nine of Swords. Okay. I'm trying to pull up.
And that kind of hit me like, wow, where does that fit in?
Let's see.
But then
So-
I looked in the Tarot for Creative Magic book, and it talked about worry and fear.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, because that's there too.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So are you wanting a little bit of support with your spread, or?
Maybe just a little bit about Nine of Swords.
Okay. Tell me again. So what were you ready to release and transform?
I'm ready to release and transform as Emperor.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Made a lot of sense to me with where I'm at right now.
And then what energy can support you in this alchemy?
Three of Wands.
Beautiful. And then what begins to move toward me when I release and transform?
Temperance.
Nice. Okay.
I've
And
been pulling a
then,
lot lately.
okay. And how can I prepare to receive this new energy was Nine of Swords.
Swords.
Okay. And then did you pull that final one, your personal beacon?
The Hanged Man.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Feels good. So ready to release and transform. The Emperor, that seems to me like you know, having this, being in a workplace for quite some time, and kind of, you know, that requires following the protocols and doing what you're told to do, you know, on mostly like on some level, right?
Yeah.
And really like being in a kind of system, whether it's like good or bad or a little bit of both. And then an energy that can support you in this alchemy, Three of Wands. So like you're ready for something that's expansive beyond that kind of more rigid Emperor feel. What begins to move toward you? Temperance. Yeah, so you're moving toward a place of like more flow, and the Emperor kind of dictates where the energy is going to go, but Temperance asks us to look at where the energy is naturally flowing, and to kind of move with what is flowing, and to maybe release or just not push on energy that's really resisting or not trying to like move you forward. How can you prepare to receive this new energy? Nine of Swords. And so I don't think that, you know, like worrying and anxiety are a way to receive the temperance energy, but rather that may be the like one of your main barriers to accessing the energy of temperance. So, you know, when you're not getting the same like infusion into your bank account once or twice a month that you used to, you know, I mean, I don't know what retirement is going to offer you, but like there's going to be a change, right? And so that's going to produce anxiety. Will you have enough? What, you know, how will you spend your time? What is my life going to look like? You know, when I got laid off, I was like, am I actually going to be a productive person if no one's making me work? Or, you know, I wasn't moving toward retirement at that moment, but there were a lot of questions about like, who am I when I don't have a boss? Like, what am I going to do with myself if no one's looking, right? And you would have your own versions of whatever questions may come up, but just kind of working with being aware of the anxieties and the fears and the concerns that are coming up for you. And I think awareness is an important beginning, just so you know like what's in there, and even journaling about some of those things just to sort of move some of that energy so they're not kind of like bubbling under the surface and creating a kind of like unconscious unease inside of you. But like, okay, here's a fear. Here's a concern. Oh, my mind is like really kind of spinning in this loop of worry the last hour. What does my body need? So, you know, it'll show up for you how it shows up for you and different from other people, but just kind of looking out for that and not, I think an important thing is not to be like, oh, I'm anxious. That's a problem. And then you get more anxious, right? But like, oh, I'm anxious, and that's what the cards said I might feel. And how can I support myself in that? Do I want to write about that? Do I want to phone a friend? Do I want to take my brain to a space of possibility? Like, what has retirement given me? What do I want to use it for? And then your personal beacon being the Hanged One, it seems like you really get to have like a very different experience in life because you're transitioning out of your job and you're giving yourself a lot more freedom, a lot more Beyonce time. And you're going to get to be like, oh, it can be like this too. It can be however I want. I don't have to like do it any particular way or the way any other person might do it. But it's going to feel, I think, a little foreign at first, even as much as you are super ready for it. Right. Because like you've just been in the emperor system for a while. So it's also going to take some time to basically detox, honestly. And kind of
my only other similar experience has been going from one job to another, but you're going from one thing to something else, and this is kind of going to like a wide open field.
Yeah. And there's going to be some like deprogramming that you can't really anticipate, but that you'll be like, oh, I feel like, for me, it might be like, I feel lazy because I didn't get up at this time, or I didn't do the chores I said I was going to do with all this time I have, when it's like, maybe my body needs to recover. And maybe like, so I also thought it was going to happen. Like, oh, sometimes people change jobs and they're like, I'll give myself a week to decompress. And it's like, if you're, kind of detoxing and deprogramming it, for me, it took longer than I thought it would, or that I wanted it to. And it's definitely still going on. So just be gentle with yourself. I don't want to kiss you right now. Thank you for sharing.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that spread for you at this moment. It feels really, really beautiful and right and supportive.
Yeah, it really did. It really did.
Cool. Did anyone have so I'm just going to survey, like, I'm going to ask if you felt like a yes urge to share, and if you felt like a maybe I don't know urge to share, and if you felt like I'm just listening here today. So if you were like, yes, I'm going to share, give me a thumbs up. If you're like a maybe, you can do a wave thing of one of these guys. Okay, we have one maybe.
Share what?
Anything. Something you want support with, an experience, maybe a story for the benefit of the group. I don't know. Yes, Monica? Okay.
I think I already shared, so I'm here to listen for the rest.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean you can't share again, but
No, yeah, but I think that's what came out for me
okay.
today.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful share. Monica, what would you like to bring into the circle tonight?
With all these energies, and I know this is going to be kind of a tumultuous week just because of the way the new moon was in Scorpio opposite Uranus, and already things are kind of with the Uranus energy of like the Tower card, and knocking over crumbly foundations or anything that isn't structured properly. So I'm already feeling that, and I'm feeling that in my clients too. And one of the things I keep getting in my spreads is a 7 of Wands. No matter what position it's in, like the 7 of Wands keeps coming up. And I use different decks, and I'm just wondering, like a lot of times this has been coming up, right? With I forget what it was last time. And then you use different decks, and sometimes it's just like, do you just put tarot away after a while? Or is it like you really just try to get to the bottom of the Seven of Swords?
Is it wands or
and what-
swords?
Sorry, swords.
Okay, I've been pulling that one too. And yeah, I'm a little like, what are you trying to tell me?
And I'm not just baffled, but just kind of frustrated, I guess. And a manifesting generator, frustration is my not self theme.
Okay. What are some theories you have about what the card could be telling you? Both like the kind you're willing to like use in your favor and the kind that annoys you.
I think because I don't really understand that card very much. I mean, there's so many things around it, but what I normally associate is the Rider-Waite, which is like theft or taking things that aren't yours. And I know we've redefined it as access or taking advantage, striking when the wildfire's hot, maybe taking more than you should. Just has kind of this negative spin to it. So you may have this like amazing looking spread, and then the Seven of Swords comes up again. So when I think about it, I guess I just always have kind of a negative spin instead of being like, oh, maybe take advantage of it now. This is like a waiting period as well. I'm noticing like we want to take action. There's so much Mars energy, but that's also opposite Uranus. So it's like impatience to get stuff done or for things to be over so we can just like move on. And yeah. So sometimes I feel like tarot is a little frustrating as opposed to not soothing, but like something you can count on for a bit of insight.
Okay. Yeah. So I think there's two things we can kind of look at what the card could be meaning or trying to share with you or show you. And then there's also the like, do you ever put it away and get frustrated with it? And like, or are you trying to get to the bottom of it? I think for me, I do have those same experiences where I'm like, I don't love these cards for myself. This isn't what I'm trying to cultivate. Sometimes they do create a little bit of doubt for me, like where I think I'm trying to cultivate this one thing, and then I'm seeing these other cards that may suggest that like, oh, are my intentions not good? Am I missing something? Am I out of alignment and I can't see it, or whatever the case? And that I don't love that feeling. I think I try to cultivate some curiosity towards it, like, okay, I don't know exactly what this means. I do come up usually with like, okay, it could mean this, or it could mean this, one that's like a little more favorable and one that's a little more like challenging to me, or that would require me to like make adjustments. And kind of leave the question open. And I don't usually like put tarot away just because I'm like, you're not working for me. Though there are periods where I have like kind of pulled cards a bit less than other times. And maybe that's unconscious, or maybe I don't remember there being a time where I was like, I'm not working with you right now because like you're not working for me. Though I don't think it would, I don't think that's like a wrong thing to do if you feel that way. If it's not working for you, like don't torture yourself with something that doesn't feel good. But I do just kind of try to say like, I don't know. And maybe I'll find out and kind of like let the timeline kind of roll on a little bit and see what it means. I also haven't, like I said, I've been pulling that card quite a bit lately too. And I have the same kind of reactions. Like, am I trying to get away with something? Am I taking more than my share? Am I being greedy? Am I being like secretive or subversive? And, even though I do try to mostly situate that card around like access, and I think of it too these days sometimes as like how to navigate a system that wasn't built for you, that wasn't created to like help you out or to make it easy for you. And it's kind of like, most of our systems, kind of like thinking about what Violetta shared, were like created by white dudes in this country. And so they're not thinking about women or women of color, like the systems work primarily for them. And so for folks who are not white men who built the systems, getting the same kind of access or getting the same kind of results, we have to kind of both navigate the system, but also create our own path at the same time, and somehow kind of like walk those two tightropes simultaneously, it feels like, where it's like you can't escape the system fully because they're like overpowering and they're everywhere and they're very dominant. But if you just play the systems game, you feel like shit. You might get what you want, but it won't really feel good, or you'll get like kind of shit on one way or another along the way. And so we also have to like try and honor ourselves inside the system and figure out some different ways to get like we deserve the same things that the systems, give benefits to disproportionately to the people who made them. But we have to kind of go about it, obtaining them or accessing them through like thinking outside the box, using different kinds of tools and different kinds of wisdom. And so one thing that's coming up for me is like, I know that you're creating, like you've worked in the tech world, which is very white dude dominated, and you've been very successful there. And you're in the process right now of starting up something. And I'm saying this because you've shared it in these spaces before. So tell me to shut up if you want me to stop talking. I won't go into too much detail, but you're, creating a kind of platform that you imagine to be different than what's out there, to have different kinds of kind of like ethical principles undergirding it. And you are using some of the same strategies to like get funding and get this going, like you're seeking investment funding and startup funding and that kind of thing. But you're also doing it in your Monica way and having to like be in rooms with, I don't know who all is in your rooms, and I know you cultivate diverse groups that you work with. So, but I imagine maybe it's asking you to like, I don't know if the card is showing up when you ask questions that we want like a positive answer to, or if it's showing up as like, this is your barrier or your block. So it may kind of depend, but it may be both at the same time, because growing up in these systems, we want to be rule followers and we want to like win by the same terms, win or feel success or feel achievement or feel validation by the same kind of like doing the same steps. But the same steps don't always really get us the same results that we see other people getting. And so we have to kind of decide what results are most meaningful for us. How do we want to show up in these spaces without like perpetuating the same kind of like stuff that's working against us? So it causes us to like really wrestle with something too. And, like you're wanting to access like success in this space for the benefit of yourself and your team, but also all the users who are going to be able to access this platform. And you're using some of the old strategies, but probably some new ones. And maybe it's kind of asking you to notice where you're taking yourself because there's some insight there that you can use again. What do you think about that?
I think it makes sense, especially around, systems and having to kind of go around this system or to have to take, what's and go around. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Sometimes I feel like too, maybe this is a bit reductive and simplistic, but like, it's like when you take the like extra stapler from the office supply closet, and that that's wrong, but it's like, you also know you're not getting paid what you're worth, and you're giving like way more to the company, and you're like, I need a freaking stapler, and this one's been sitting here for 3 months, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to take it. So it could be like a little bit of that, where you're not like an asshole. You're kind of like, hey, I did the math and no one's going to miss the stapler and I need one. And I've been putting in my time, let's see. as someone shared in the chat, I tend to feel guilty when I am successful because I see others who probably work harder not finding success. That came up when I answered the 7 of Swords prompt. Let's actually look at that prompt. Someone was about to speak, I think. Okay, yeah, complete this sentence. Why does it have to be so effing hard to get a little in this life? Then write down 3 instances in which you felt blocked from accessing something that other people seem to access freely. Now write down 3 examples of how you gained access to these things anyway, or potentially could gain access even in some roundabout way, or even if you cultivate the resource yourself. Where else might you be able to find this resource more readily? Let your mind be sneaky and strategic and creative and secure in the belief that you do deserve these things you desire. That reminds me of another thing about this card that I've told people in readings. It's like if you're in a, especially if people are in some kind of negotiation process, or if they're in a little bit of like a power struggle with someone, like maybe the neighbor put the fence too far on their line or something, something like that, or maybe I've had someone who's been, who was sued by a former employee who was like disgruntled according to them. And so when this card comes up, I'm not saying those are, let me finish my thought. So when this card comes up, what I advise them is to kind of move forward like they're playing a game of poker. So I think a lot of us in this space probably value transparency, value accountability, value, like we don't like secretive, hide all the tiny print kind of stuff, like we're not for that. But there are some situations where it doesn't behoove you to put all the cards on the table up front and like practice full transparency, because that may not work in your favor in this interaction. You may want to like keep your cards closer to your chest and kind of like disclose things on a more as needed basis, as a kind of protective approach. So I don't think the 7 of Swords indicates that people are in some like power struggle situation necessarily, but sometimes if they have been in that situation when they come to the reading, that's some advice that I offer. Or that's something I think the card is suggesting to them.
Cecily, can you talk about the number 7 then across all the suits? Is there like a thread? Yeah,
they're the 5s and the 7s, whatever the suit, are challenging. And so in the 7 of Wands, someone is trying to defend the space that they've carved out for themselves through like hard work or effort. It's like you established yourself in some way. You put your business out there, you carved out a role in your team or something like that, and you feel like you're not getting credit or other people are taking credit. You feel like whatever you've established is trying to pull away from you or being taken from you. And so there's this need to like be defensive and to stand your ground, to kind of take ownership and claim of what you've established for yourself. And then the kind of shadow side of that card would be kind of staying in a defensive posture when you're imagining the theft of what's yours, but it may not be actually true to the situation. In the 7 of Cups, we have this experience of confusion, of not really knowing which option is best for us. There's like multiple possibilities, but none of them leap out as the obvious right choice for us. And so there's this discomfort around like, I don't know which way to go. I feel like I should know, but I haven't figured it out. And that card, what I say about that card is like uncertainty and confusion are how we find clarity. Like it's kind of like life and death go together, like confusion and clarity are also conjoined. So being confused is kind of how we get to the clarity part. And there is something in that card about kind of choosing the spiritual path. And I don't mean like some traditional spiritual path, but just the thing that like most aligns with what you find as a spiritual value, or the part that comes more from your soul than your ego. And then Seven of Pentacles is where the gardener has grown this nice looking bush, and he's kind of leaning on his garden instrument and looking at it with doubt. Like, is this enough? Did I do a good job? Should it be better? And so sometimes the kind of positive version of that card, or the most maybe healthy version of that card, is that, oh, he's just assessing his work. He's like, how did it turn out? Like, is it what I hoped it would be? What do I think contributed to it turning out this way? And how would I like to change my approach next time? And then the more maybe self-sabotagey version of that is like, to the outside observer, it looks like what he created is quite substantive and healthy, and like the person looking at the card would give him a positive performance review, but he's kind of like in this space of scrutiny and doubt, which, when we try to move forward from like, or what comes up for me with that card sometimes is like imposter syndrome. Like, it's not good enough. Anyone could have done it. Nah, what's the big deal? So when you move forward to try to create from like, it was a nothing burger that was actually good and beneficial, you're going to keep having this loop of like unfulfillment. So they all do challenge us to kind of like confront something. I'm not fully aware of like how I might connect those four aspects of tension, confusion and imposter syndrome and access and standing one's ground, self-defense kind of stuff. I'd have to kind of think of that more deeply.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I would just, I might recommend just, watching it, holding it as a question, seeing maybe if there's more clarity with a little bit of time, but also, put your cards away if you need to put them away. And I support your creative, outside the box thinking to achieve your goals. Okay. Any other thoughts for Monica about the sevens? Any other questions in general?
Oh, I have to leave in about 10 minutes, but there's
Mhm.
something that I was kind of wanting to put in. I think I just wanted a little bit about navigating kind of the paradox between, I guess, structures and deadlines, and even using that as motivation. And then like a different energy. And the reason why it's coming up is I'm counting, like I have this goal of finishing 40 prompts by December 9th, and so I have the kind of like, okay, this is how many I have left, and then in order to do that, I'm going to be like, I would have to kind of throw myself into higher gear. And so I guess maybe it's like, is it worth it? Is the question that I'm facing, right? Because it's often been, I don't know, like, I guess, what's the place of pressure? Sometimes, like, or pressure placed in the self, or chosen pressure. And how does that kind of interact with doing something a lot more I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Freely, maybe, I
Mhm.
guess it is kind of a conversation about structure and freedom and, and that kind of thing, which could mean loosely, intuitively, organically, letting it be. Uh, yeah. So that's something I'm kind of wondering about for myself.
Okay. Yeah, there's a similar sentiment in the chat. I feel like I haven't scheduled writing enough and haven't done nearly as many prompts as I want, but I also feel I can't force it. Yeah, I mean, is the motivation, what's the motivation to, or what's the reason to accelerate yourself for to 40 prompts by December 9th?
I mean, one of the reasons is definitely like the coaching session, wanting to talk to you again. But I think another one is like, I don't know, being on this journey from, May to December, and like, I don't know, that's a milestone, yeah, that I realize has kind of been named by somebody else. The number is kind of random, but it feels like, you know, it's a little more than half the deck. And, it feels like it's kind of honoring this journey. Like, I don't know what, I don't foresee myself at this time, continuing in the container. So I don't know, there's something about like wanting to close it uh in a powerful way, or like even close the year with it in a powerful way. And then after that, like maybe hold it more loosely to come back to the prompts, or to, go towards the ones that are that ask for, longer time periods or something like that. So
Okay. So there is, yeah, like there's a couple motivations. What comes up for you when you think about whatever you would need to do to make that happen?
well, I was looking at the days and, thinking about like, okay, today's November 14th. That's December 9th. How many have I done? I think I'm at 21. So, so that's like 19 left, which is doable, but it means, um, not mostly relying on just on like, the sessions that you've been hosting, and maybe once in a while doing one, but instead of making a practice of, answering to a prompt, yeah, nearly every day. And something about that feels like it's also interesting, to kind of
Mhm.
accelerate it. Um, and also another part of me is just like, wait, why are we why are we receiving this pressure? And by this pressure, I mean for myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there something you feel like you would have to sacrifice if you did decide to like try and journal a little more frequently for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
It's not so much sacrifice, it's more like, I have other things on my list that I'm trying to do with some regularity. So
Mhm.
if this gets added to the list, in that kind of way, then maybe I guess what I'm running the risk of is that um, maybe my list is too much for me altogether. And then, maybe I come up short and then, feel uh, bad about myself. So that's kind of the risk. It's not physically or, schedule wise impossible to do it. It's more like holding expectations. I guess that's the thing, like holding
Mm.
expectations and, what my relationship to those expectations are. Um, yeah,
Okay.
that really slippery relationship for me sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just mention a couple other comments in the chat. I've just come to term with the idea that I'm not going to make that December deadline for 40 prompts, but I also am happy with my own pace of approaching the deck. I started off strong, then lost the momentum. So I'll just do as many as I can before December, but I have to schedule it in. Otherwise, it tends to be pushed back for other fires. Yeah. So I never want anyone to use anything about the prompts or the dates against yourself. Like, no aspect of this should provide you pain, or should you use it to inflict pain upon yourself with like beratement or like, disappointment, that kind of thing. So don't engage in that, please. And then, maybe tap into like, where is your desire? Like, if you have a desire to find out what it might feel like to journal every day for 20 minutes for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, and you like genuinely desire to find out what happens for you if you do that, then maybe I think desire is a bigger motivator and a better motivator than a deadline. Deadlines are motivating and they do work, and getting paid on a deadline does motivate people, which I don't have that in this program, unfortunately. But also, if your desire is to follow your energy level and just like do what you can do given the other priorities and competing desires, or maybe not competing, but coexisting desires, then go with that. So like, I think honoring your desire is what I would suggest, because none of these things, as far as I can tell, are like indicators about you as a person, or deny you something crucial, that kind of thing. So I would just connect with what you really want to do and try. And if you do decide to kind of like try a commitment to something, say, I'm going to go for this, I'm going to see how it goes, and let it be an experiment, not like a consideration for success or failure. And you always have choice to be like, I don't, yeah, this is too difficult, or this is too draining, or this is too much time, or whatever the case, and you get to change your mind.
I'm going to sit with desire, and that being like the interesting reminder, even though I'm like, oh, competing desires in places too. But I do think the desire reminder is one that I needed. And sometimes thinking of like, there is a polarity of fear on the other side as a motivator. So I'm going to sit with that. Yeah.
What's the fear in the 1 minute?
Yeah. Thanks, but it's okay.
You don't have to answer that. You can answer.
Like optimizing, right? So expecting myself to like optimize everything, right? So it's this kind of and if I don't, then I'll miss out, right? So there is something about like, okay, having the conversation with you, it's like, oh, well, you could have had it, but only if you were, if you kind of, got yourself together more somehow, right? Like, so there's some of that, like there's a scarcity in there too, in terms of how I turn or how I orient sometimes towards things that are available and that are interesting to me, but that require something of me that might be hard. It's just like sometimes that's where that narrative gets tangled up, as in like, if I didn't manage to get the thing that was like gettable, like, and available to me and desirable and valuable, then it's like it can easily turn into well, that's all you, like you could have done it. Like something like that. So that's where I think the fear motivation in general, and like, yeah, optimizing, wanting to like, yeah, not miss out, is the fear side of the motivation.
Yeah. From one Capricorn to another, I relate. If it helps, I have many classes that I signed up for that just like there's at the bottom of my email, there's like 10 class recordings from stuff I signed up for that I wasn't able to like actually attend live. And it's been months since I got the recording and I still haven't watched it. And I can't hate myself for that. There's like too much good stuff in the world to like absorb all of it. And you get to decide what value you get out of something. So like if you came into this process and so far you've gotten like good value out of it, and you've gotten the things that you were looking for more or less, then, you know, that's an occasion to be satisfied and be like, I got what I came for. And I will lower for everyone, if you get it to 35, you can have the coaching session. So, but follow your desire. And yes, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for responding to it, because it's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, that's what it's, I've gotten that, and I've gotten more out of it too, right? In terms of looking at my relationship to even like, you know, a semi-structured program like this, and yeah, what stories I bring to doing it. And so I appreciate where I've also had the space to like talk about it and then get to look at it from slightly different angles. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that I want there to be like a meta aspect of this. Like it's not just what comes out of the prompts, but also like what comes up for you when you look at a certain prompt, or when you think about the like ebbs and flows, or like being in a non-linear self-paced kind of situation. Like, you know, we got programmed to like not do stuff like that, or not be comfortable in that kind of situation. So there's other like activations happening that are growth possibilities too. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go now, and I'll catch up with the rest of the call. I think I had it on my calendar as an hour and a half. So that's mostly how I was thinking.
Yes, we're gonna wrap up. And I pulled a card. Our final card is the Chariot. So we'll discuss that briefly and then get off the call. Another
I
7.
will watch. Thank you. See you all
Okay,
soon.
bye, Ivona. Did y'all draw cards at the beginning? I know Monica did. Just okay. All right. Well, very good. Yeah, so I thought I'd pull a closing card, and maybe, you know, this is a Chariot year, like numerologically speaking. And we're coming to the end. You know, we're in the last like 6 weeks of this Chariot year. So it's kind of interesting to see it here. It's also interesting. It's another 7, and we've been talking a lot about 7. So you can also connect minor arcana cards to their major arcana, to a major arcana like parent card through their numbers. So yeah, so this would be a good like parent or connected card to all of the 7s. And it's interesting. That's one way, you know, Monica said, I don't know how to connect them, but actually if we take the Chariot, we can see how moving forward with our ambitions, dreams, goals, and trying to get from where we are to where we want to be puts us in places of confusion, asks us to confront imposter syndrome, requires us to navigate systems and think creatively and strategically, and to kind of claim our territory and defend it. So there's the connection. And I like how it kind of, you know, we're also in the home stretch of this experience together. We have about just a little under a month left. And I like how these couple each other, the 9 of Pentacles and the Chariot. I feel like we get more 9 of Pentacles energy sometimes by Chariot memes. You know, the more we get clear about the direction we want to go and why we want to go in that direction, and why it's important or meaningful to us, I think that's how we get closer to a life that feels like it has space for us. And I think that's what this card is really about, like having a life where you get to be yourself and you get to access and enjoy the things that are meaningful to you. Yeah, and Christy's saying Monica mentioned the Chariot card earlier. Do you remember that, Monica? Do you
Mm,
Christy, do you remember
no,
that?
might not have been me. But what I like about the chariot is we talked about polarities and being able to harness all of life's polarities, the light and the dark, to move forward. So
Sorry, you mentioned the tower card. That's what
tower,
it was. Never mind.
yeah,
Never mind.
Uranus tower. Yeah, so that chariot's really meaningful around harnessing all of the things we've been talking about tonight
And it
to move
is, yeah, it is that harnessing. And I think it's also, you know, the charioteer has the two kind of power sources that will pull the chariot. This is a card connected to Cancer in the zodiac, and Cancer is the crab, right? So like the vehicle, the crab's home is its body and the external structure of the body, giving like all the gooey crab insides a place to be contained. So this is also about the vehicle we create to move us from one place to another. We're pulling together our power sources. We're pulling together like our intention and vision. And then there's also always like some cosmic element, some stars and things like that, and this magic wand. So it's like bringing all of the goal, the fuel, the vehicle, the intention, the vision, and the magic. Also the magic and the universe, co-creating with the universe. So these are nice. I hope you enjoy more Nine of Pentacles and discover more fuel for your Nine of Pentacles life in the journaling that you may be doing going forward. And I hope you have a nice little like cruise of journaling prompts toward the end of our experience. And we will celebrate together for all who can make it, whether you finished or not. It's not about finishing. It's about that you did some of it, that we did it together, that we learned some things about ourselves and hopefully felt some community in this investigation. So that's what we're celebrating. It is not a celebration of completion. So if you did one prompt or 0 prompts, you can still come. I think y'all have done more than 0, but if you had done 0, I would love to see you at that call. Thank you for coming tonight and everything that y'all shared. It was beautiful to be with you, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Cecily.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.